Gavin. Read those books in a blink, oh yeah. Grab yourself a hot drink cause you're watching How to Train Your Gavin.
Yep, that's me.
Hey guys, welcome back to How to Train Your Gavin. To celebrate the Owls, I wanted to do my definitive ranking of all 7 of the Harry Potter books by J.K. Rowling. And when I say the 7 books, I mean literally just from Philosopher's Stone to Deathly Hallows. Nothing after that because it's a load of shite. But I don't think I've ever actually definitively said what my top Harry Potter book is. I might have done, I can't remember. It changes almost every year, and I reread all of the Harry Potter books like from Christmas 2018 through to January 2019, so they're still pretty much fresh in my head. I read them for the first time as an adult, and I used to love these books as a kid. I used to read them and reread them all the time, so then I went like 10 years without reading them, and it was a revelation. And I know a lot of people aren't going to be happy about my ranking whatsoever, so please be respectful of my opinion, I'll be respectful of yours. It's going to be different for everyone. Just know that all of these books are in my top 7 Harry Potter books. So there's a start. I am actually really scared to start this ranking. I just know I'm going to be booed from the minute I show the first book that's in a number 7. My least favourite Harry Potter book is Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. So this one is the 5th book. It is the longest book as well. It's huge. This one came out when I was 11 and it took me 2 months to read. I won't be saying like synopsises or what these books are about because I already feel like everybody knows what they're about and what each book is. Essentially it is just about a young boy who finds out he's a wizard and then gets whisked away by a stranger to Hogwarts where he begins a life of crime. And in the 5th installment, this one follows Goblet of Fire, which a lot of stuff happened in Goblet of Fire to really shake up the wizarding world. And I would say this is the book where magic died because I just lost all of that really whimsical, magical feeling of Harry Potter and the reason why I love the first 4 books so much. So yeah, I just felt this was a little bit too real, like too real life, not as fantasy as I really wanted it to be. And I know that's going to get me some criticism, I know. Part of the reason why this is so great and why Harry Potter is so great is that it's kind of grounded in reality and the fantasy kind of works from there. But in this one I felt it was just, it focused too much on the real aspects of fantasy. So we have the exams, for instance. So obviously it's the Owls now, which is amazing. I love the Owls, it's my favourite readathon. But I don't know why, but I really despise a lot of the stuff that happens in this. Okay, so when I say like real life stuff, I read Harry Potter mainly to escape and mainly for, yeah, escapism, which I know is the reason why a lot of people read Harry Potter, you know, it's fantasy and blah blah blah. Yeah, I just felt like this one hit a little bit too close to home. So here's my little stop story that will get me to the final of the X Factor. This book came out, okay, so I was 11 and I was going from secondary school to no, I wasn't going backwards, what? So I was going from primary school to secondary school in 2003 when this came out. So my parents split up that year as well and so my mum and dad split up and we had to move and live with our mum and we kind of moved school as well. So I was supposed to go to a different secondary school with all of my primary school friends, but when the time came to it, I had to go to a totally different secondary school. I knew absolutely nobody. I had 0 friends. I know, this is so sad. But yeah, this is my sub story. So this came out in the summer of 2003. So it was still like a month and a half before going back to school or like starting a new school from absolute scratch, which terrified me. So this was my main escapism and just reading all the stuff about the exams and growing up, which obviously is, you know, apt. It is apt for the series. We grow up with Harry. This is what happens. This is life. I feel like I am ranting now. I'm spending too long on one book. I'm sorry. But I wanted to escape. I didn't want to read about exams or catching feelings for people or, you know, all the puberty stuff that happens in this. I didn't want to read it. I remember sitting on the bank at school, one of the first days at school. I had no friends. And I was reading this book and a boy came up behind me, kicked me in the back, took the book off me and threw it over a fence. I know, I would be winning the X Factor with this sub-story, I know. But like, I guess that kind of memory just, every time I look at this cover, it just triggers me. So I don't have the best memories associated with this book, which is partly why it's at the bottom of this list. I have some personal demons I need to get through to really enjoy this book. But, you know, it's not all bad. I do love some of the aspects of the Wizarding World that's in this, especially like St. Mungo's, and I definitely prefer the book over the movie. I actually prefer the book over the movies for pretty much all of them, apart from maybe one or two, which I'll talk about when I get to them. Sorry, this is really long. So I love all the stuff with the Death Eaters and the Ministry of Magic and the Department of Mysteries. I love all that. And also Umbridge is terrifying, and she is one of the best villains in the Harry Potter universe. We get to the Department of Mysteries, which is this great climax. Absolutely love it. Of course, this is spoiler filled, so if you don't know anything about deaths and stuff, tune out right now. But like, obviously Sirius dies, and it's really big, it's really epic, and just so heartbreaking. But I'm not really a big fan of bringing secondary characters into the main action, unless it's the final book. You know, this list is filled with contradictions, I'm sorry. But in this one, I love Luna, I love Neville, I love Ginny, I love Book Ginny, but I didn't really want them to participate in the final climax with Harry, Ron and Hermione. They're my main three, they're my squad, and I don't know, it just kind of took away from their spotlight. Felt less intimidating for our main trio, because I just felt like they were getting more outside help, and you know, that tension and what we usually feel towards the ends of books. I mean, I say tension, it's been tense for me most of the climaxes for these books. I don't know, it took away from it by having too many heroes in this one, and it took away from Harry, Ron and Hermione. That's one of the reasons why I don't really like this one as much. Yeah, it took me 2 months to read, and that's a problem. But I mean, it didn't when I reread it. It only took me a few days. Yeah, I'm so sorry. I know a lot of people love this book, and the reason why they love it is the length half the time. But I'm so sorry. Like, oh no, I said I wasn't going to apologise. Stop apologising. This is 7. In at number 6 is Book 6, Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. Again, this one is going to get me so much hate, but again, I don't care. So this one, I guess, it has the same kind of problem as Order of the Phoenix. I felt like after the 4th book, yeah, it just didn't feel as magical anymore. Fair dues, because it's getting so much more serious. What I love about this one are the Horcruxes and the kind of journey to finding out what the Horcruxes mean and learning more about Tom Marvolo Riddle, aka Lord Voldemort, and just getting his backstory and going on this adventure with Dumbledore. It felt very high stakes, and that's what I love about it. And there's other little bits and bobs I love about it as well that I can't really remember that much, but now, kind of with the distance and space from after reading it, it's less memorable than all of the other books combined, I feel. But still, Order of the Phoenix is bottom, but this one is 6th, mainly because I still really enjoyed the character developments in this one. I absolutely loved learning more about Snape when he was at school as well. Just a little shout out to Snape. Although saying that, I hate book Snape, I love movie Snape. Just saying. So in this one, obviously we have Dumbledore's death, which is this huge moment. And then I guess the end climax of it just wasn't that, I'm going to say interesting, because it's really just Harry running after Snape in a field and Snape revealing he's the Half-Blood Prince, which I think that shocked me when I was a kid. But yeah, after that, it just doesn't shock anymore. And I think if I'd read it as an adult, I would have guessed so much sooner, because it's just not really that surprising. I mean, it's not surprising now, of course, but yeah, I don't know what I'm saying about this. And that's the problem. Like, I don't really have that much to say about the Half-Blood Prince. I find it a bit vanilla. And when I say that, I mean compared to the rest of them. There's just so much that happens in each and every one of them. But saying that though, I absolutely love the book more than the movie for this as well. So that has that going for it. I don't rant as much about this one as Order of the Phoenix, again, which is why it places a bit higher than that one. But yeah, I think at this point, just the magic of the Wizarding World I just spat everywhere, I'm sorry. Just didn't give me that inspiring magical hope that the other ones do. Yeah, like, I'm struggling to think of what else happened in this one. Even in the movie, I'm trying to remember the movie as well. In that one, God, I used to watch all the movies all the time as well. But I struggle to remember the book and the movie. There's a problem there. There is a huge problem there. But yeah, the main letdown is the climax. It just wasn't... I mean, yeah, Dumbledore's death, shocking, devastating, absolutely heartbroken. Then it's not really a big fight or anything like that, which I guess is good, because that's been the formula for almost every single book up to this point. And it's nice to have a change in that formula, but still replace it with something a little bit better than just cardio in the Hogwarts grounds. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about this one. I'm trying to limit how much I talk about each book. I could talk about all of them forever. Apart from this book, I just don't really have that much to say about it. Okay, now for my top 5, I actually love all 5 of these books with my whole heart. Like, I've given all of them 10 out of 10. There's not that much wrong with these top 5. I love them. But in at number 5 is The Chamber of Secrets. And I know a lot of people put this on their bottom. Oh my god, I'm going to sneeze. Am I? A lot of people put this on the bottom of their rankings, which, you know, I absolutely respect. I know a lot of reasons why this is bottom of people's lists, and they are valid. I personally love this one because I still have that really magical feeling that I get when I read Harry Potter books 1 through 4. With Chamber of Secrets, yeah, it's rather short. It's not as, well, yeah, after the 2 I've just mentioned, it's definitely not as big. We still have this huge wizarding world that we are still experiencing for nearly the first time. We get glimpses of it in the Philosopher's Stone. We get a bit more of it in the Chamber of Secrets. And just the potential and the possibility of this world is still so fresh and so youthful that just, I don't know, I just, even rereading it, I get that magical feeling from it, which is kind of hard to describe unless you're actually, you know, experiencing these books yourself. But if you know what I mean, you'll know what I mean. But like Chamber of Secrets, I think had such a great mystery. It was so tense. I was actually terrified by the events of this book when I first read it. Even now, I still think J.K. Rowling does a good, you know, job at creating the tension, because we have the dismembered? No, I don't think that's the right word. Disembodied voice of the basilisk, and only Harry can hear it. And we're like, why can Harry only hear the basilisk? Why is Ginny acting so strangely? What is this diary? Who is petrifying, what is petrifying the students and ghosts of Hogwarts? Of Hogwarts, like, what's going on? Like, I had no idea reading this. I think this was just such a great mystery that I think this is probably the best mystery out of all of the Harry Potter books, because I think every single book has that element of mystery. I just love, you know, going to Diagon Alley and Flourish and Blotts, and, you know, the whole Chamber of Secrets element of this, and the diary. I love learning more about Hagrid when he was a student, and oh, there's just so much I love about it. And when Mrs. Norris gets petrified and there's the blood on the walls, the Chamber of Secrets have opened, enemies of the air beware. There's just so many memorable moments from this. I also really love the Death Day party. I wish the ghosts were more prominent in the movies, but I will say I think I prefer the movie of Chamber of Secrets just slightly more, only because the fight with the basilisk in the climax is a lot more drawn out in the movie. In the book, I think the basilisk is taken down a bit too easily, but that's absolutely fine. You know, it's still kind of finding its feet at this point. There is obviously a lot of room to grow in this one, which is why it's not quite my top 4, but it's a solid, absolutely solid book in the Harry Potter franchise, which honestly I think is so underlooked. But, you know, to each their own, you know. I put this above 2 of the biggest books in the series, so what do I know? But also, when Harry and Ron get trapped and they have to take the flying car and they get bumped into the Whomping Willow. And what about Aragog as well? There's just so many parts of this book that is so exciting. There is not one dull moment in this book, whereas there's plenty of them in the 5th and 6th book. I'm sorry, I said it. There's so much excitement, and I genuinely love this book with all my heart. This would have been higher. I don't know why it's high, but the top 5 for my books are so close and I love them all so much. Okay, so in at number 4, and this is a bit of a fall from grace because for the longest time this was my favourite book. Well, my favourite book of all time, I think, not just in the Harry Potter series, but that is the Deathly Hallows, the final book in the series. And I think the main reason why I thought this was my favourite was because it was the last one, and that was pretty much it. I do absolutely love everything that happens in this. I absolutely love the tension. The Battle of Hogwarts is so epic, and this is definitely one of those books that I think ends the series very well. And usually I'm really let down by series endings. Obviously really devastating. This one is so lethal. This is definitely way more grown up than the first 6 combined. But then when I reread it last year, I thought, well, that's not really a good reason for it to be my favourite book. You know, there's got to be a lot of factors in that. But there are, like, a lot of great things about this one. I love kind of the mythology. I love kind of learning more about the folklore in this world, such as the Tales of Beedle the Bard. I love the escape aspect of this one. It's very, Toy Story? Harry, Ron and Hermione have to keep running because the Death Eaters are after them. Pretty much everyone's after them. It's very high stakes, and you can feel it throughout. And there are lulls in the story, though. There are moments where things kind of deflate, but for the most part this is really, really solid. I absolutely love the Godric's Hollow part. I loved seeing Harry's birthplace, and I think that whole segment, I think from that moment on all the way to the end, this is a near perfect book. Some moments beforehand wasn't that great. Obviously, there are moments before that which are very good as well. There's just so much depth. I'm pretty sure when you think of this book, you'll remember things like Dobby's death and everybody who dies in the Battle of Hogwarts. But I think this definitely reclaimed some of that adventure element and the magical element, because there's so many different forces at play in this one I think was lost with 5 and 6. But of course that's very subjective. You can shout at me and tell me that I'm wrong, that's absolutely fine. After 5 and 6 I was really ready for something that would blow me away, and this one blows me away. I absolutely love it. There are parts of Hogwarts that we examine again. We have the Grey Lady and her story. Yeah, there's just so much I love about this one. A lot more than the other ones in this list, and probably why I put it above Chamber of Secrets is mainly because this was my favourite book of all time for such a long time. It's great, like this is great. This is how Harry Potter should have ended, like the entire universe of Harry Potter, and not... I'm not even going to mention the names of it. If I don't mention the names, they're not real. So in at number 3 is the Philosopher's Stone. The original, the OG, this one is called Sorcerer's Stone for my American friends. Don't worry, I'm not one of those British snobs who looks down on people who say Sorcerer's Stone. They got issues. But whatever you call this one is my number 3. And I think this was lower, like for the longest time. But then... I guess a lot of nostalgia plays into this one because this is our entryway into the series. We learn so much about the world for the first time. The same with Harry, which makes him such a relatable character. I think everybody who's read the Harry Potter series will always remember when they read the first moment where Hagrid goes, "You're a wizard, Harry." And then Harry's like, "I'm a what?" Everyone remembers when Hagrid takes Harry to Diagon Alley for the first time, when he tries out his wand for the first time, when he sees the Hogwarts Express for the first time, when he meets Ron and Hermione. All of it's so iconic. You go from iconic moment to iconic moment to iconic moment. That just, I think, is ingrained in our brains as Harry Potter fans. A lot of the best moments of the series are like the first time when Harry steps into Hogwarts, the feeling that he has when he's finally found a family who welcomes him. And I mean, sure, there are some problems with this one. It's not as expertly written as the other ones in the series. J.K. Rowling does definitely grow from this. I can remember the first line like that. It's like, "Mr. and Mrs. Dursley of number 4 Privet Drive were proud to say that they were perfectly normal. Thank you very much." I think everybody knows that line so well. Yeah, it's just like so iconic. This is one way I would describe this book as iconic. Like, whether you think it's the best book in the series or the worst book in the series, the impact of this one is just... I mean, obviously you can't have the rest of them without this one because this is the first one. Of course, I know that. But there's just something so magical about this one that I think you feel throughout. The magic of discovering a whole new world for the first time. It was also quite a twist when it wasn't Snape who was kind of trying to kill Harry, and it was Quirrell instead. I remember that blowing my mind as a kid. And even now, I think it's still quite a clever twist, unlike the Half-Blood Prince twist. But I think this is like such a comfort read. I could read this in one sitting. I could read this. After I just finished reading this, I could read it again from the very first page. It's that kind of book, and it's very special. And I think this is probably tied first with my top 2. Like, the 3 books I'm mentioning now from here on are just so unbelievably special and incredible and amazing. So I'm going to stop banging on about this one and tell you what came second. So second for me, I think, is a lot of people's favourite book, and that is The Prisoner of Azkaban. Again, absolutely love this book. This one sometimes is my favourite book. I keep swapping it out with my first one, and I can hear everybody shouting at the back saying, "I know what your first one is now, you suck," but please hear me out, hear me out. Absolutely love Prisoner of Azkaban. This is a pretty much near perfect book in my eyes, and I love everything about it. I love the time turner aspect of it, which I know a lot of people don't like, but I think it gives this book kind of a little bit more levity than the other books. I don't even know what that means, but it feels right. It feels right. It makes the climax of this book feel so much different to the first 2 books that came before it. The start of this book is very repetitive. We do get the Harry's beginning at Privet Drive, and, you know, we get the kind of "here's what you missed on Glee" kind of segment in this. But then we get Aunt Marge, and we get Harry running away, the night bus, we have him staying at the Leaky Cauldron for the rest of his summer, which to me felt fantastic. I was like, finally, yay, we get to spend time away from the Dursleys. I know we do that in the second book with the Burrow, but with this one, it just felt like Harry was more independent. He was growing up, which I know I said before I wasn't the biggest fan of. I'm a contradiction. And then we get the train ride with the Dementor on it, and it's so tense and so terrifying. And I love me a dark middle grade book, and this just gives me that. And I love the idea of the Dementors. I think it's absolutely brilliant. One of J.K. Rowling's best creations, mainly for a lot of reasons. We get that. We get a very intense Hogwarts Express ride. We have some kind of thing going on with Hermione that we don't really know what's going on, and there are tensions. Again, we have an escaped killer on the loose, which of course is very exciting in Harry Potter. The twist for Sirius Black, everything was very twisty in this one, and I love the way it developed. I love the werewolf aspect of this as well. I love pretty much all of it. This is another book I could read from beginning to end and reread it right after finishing. And I tell you, sometimes this is my favourite Harry Potter book, sometimes. But yeah, but for me, I think my number one just outshines it just a little bit. In my personal opinion, again, remember, but also I think the movie of this might be my favourite Harry Potter movie. I think, like, I'm still unsure about my movie rankings, but I genuinely love the book. I love the movie. Prisoner of Azkaban is probably the best entity in the series. It's so well done, and I absolutely love it. And I love Buckbeak as well. I love the Hippogriff. I love Hagrid being a professor. I'm just in love. I am so in love. But it does bring me to my number one. And your amazing deductive skills were right. It is Goblet of Fire. And I know, like, this is actually a lot of people's least favourite, which is perfectly fine. Again, I understand why. This is a chunky book. So I know I said that the 5th and 6th book were a slog to get through because they're so big. And this one is no exception. This is, I think, maybe the 2nd or 3rd biggest book in the series. Something like that. I should have done my research before filming. But there is so much excitement in this one. There is so much going on in this one, which I absolutely love. So we pretty much start off with the Quidditch World Cup, which again, I'm not a big fan of sports, but I love the sense of a wizarding community coming together for this event that's just so huge and so exciting, and I do like Quidditch. I'm not a sporty person whatsoever, but I do like, say, like football tournaments or like, say, the World Cup and things. I kind of get sucked into that hype because the whole country is behind it, and that is what I love about the start of Goblet of Fire. This Wizarding World has went from Philosopher's Stone, Chamber of Secrets, Prisoner of Azkaban to the Goblet of Fire, and it gets huge. It still feels so magical because, you know, it's a very magical sport. We get the portkeys, we still get so many different areas of the Wizarding World and their techniques in this book. And then we go to Hogwarts, and for some stupid reason, they decide it's a good idea to have a very dangerous tournament where students can enter. Dumbledore, what were you thinking? And everything gets so dark, like, and I love that though. I love the darkness of it. So we look more into the unforgivable curses. Obviously we know they killed Harry's parents, and we have the looming threat of Voldemort, who we see kind of partially through Harry's dreams, or it's not really dreams because he's seeing Voldemort at the Riddle House. So it's all very scary. From page 1, it is so scary. And then we have the mystery of who put Harry's name into the Goblet of Fire. But it allows us to say dragons, it allows us to say mermaids, and a labyrinth with a sphinx, and there's just still so much magic going on. And yeah, we do start to get the kind of like puberty side of Harry Potter, where they are starting to develop feelings for other people. There are tensions between Harry and Ron, and of course I'm not always the biggest fan of that, but it kind of works in this one because it isolates Harry, and he's supposed to be doing this, you know, this tournament that could kill him, and he's feels like he's losing his friends, and that's such a real and raw aspect of it. I obviously do love the tournament because, you know, we have this huge goal of Harry having to try and survive each and every one, and he needs to figure out ways to beat each challenge. I love that. We have Mad-Eye Moody, and there's that whole secret about him and the twist with him at the end, which I thought was a very good twist. What else? Of course, we have Voldemort's return, and I think this is why this is my number one book in the Harry Potter series, is Voldemort's return. That entire scene in the graveyard, oh my god, I get chills, like serious chills. The tension is, you could cut it with a knife. This is what the series has been building towards, is Voldemort's return, and then we finally have it. And oh my god, it blew my mind. It's a shame the 2 books following this couldn't live up to it. And then of course Cedric Diggory's death, which was, I think, other than Harry's parents, was the first major death in this book series. It hit hard. It hit really hard. And it just, I don't know, like, I love dark. I love dark. And this had all of the darkness that I love in Harry Potter. I love it so much. Ah, it's so good. It is so good. This is Harry Potter magic and fantasy at its peak, you know? It's so magical and so wonderful. And the first 4 books do keep that magical element. And of course, the 7th book I love as well. But yeah, I can't tell you how much I love this book. It makes sense. So, or the entire series, this video has been a mess. This is my favourite one. It does change a lot, but at the minute, and it has been this way, I think for the past year, since rereading these books, I think this has been a consistent favourite of mine. So I'm not going to apologise for it. Thank you and good night. So that was my ranking of the Harry Potter series, books 1 through 7, the original 7 books, and I hope you enjoyed it. I do love to talk to you guys. I don't care if we have differing opinions. As long as we're respectful, it's all good. And please let me know your ranking in the comments below. I would love to know. Please like this video if you liked it and subscribe if you haven't already. And I hope you guys are enjoying your owls if you are taking part. Please let me know what you are doing if you are. Yes, just celebrate the Harry Potter wonderful magicalness of life. You know, we need that right now. I hope you're staying home. I hope you're staying safe. And I will see you in the next video. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Bye.